Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining yet another monthly social media news update. Slightly later time today, bit of an experimentation going on, but as you would have heard from all of our talks over the last year or so, experimentation in the world of content is always a good thing. So we'll see how it goes. And you'll notice we have someone else joining with a far better beard than I own. So thank you for joining us, Rob. We'll do some intros in a second, but yeah, how are you doing, Rob?
Really well. And this virtual filter I've got giving me a beard is working really well. So I'm glad of that. It's looking real.
Love it. So well, let's do a few intros as well. But as you all know, for anyone that joins these regularly, the chat always absolutely lights up because we're a community of social media pros here, people that are really interested in learning more. So go ahead and share your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram account, and let's connect, because fundamentally we've all got a lot to learn from each other. So and of course, any questions as they come along, we got three heads now to answer those questions off the back of it. So talking about who we've got on the call, Luann, over to you. Most people know who you are, but do you want to give a bit of an intro?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is amazing looking at the chat. We have got people from all over the world, from Portugal, Philippines, US. Oh, we've got someone from Peckham in London, Cape Town, someone from Honduras. My favorite coffee is from Honduras. So it's amazing to see everyone coming up in the chat there. We have got a much more global audience at this time of day. Yeah, my name is Luann Wise. I am a marketing consultant working primarily in social media. I work directly with clients, supporting them on projects or on an ongoing basis. I work with universities, law firms, manufacturers, but I have a really nice mixture of working directly with clients, but also do a lot of teaching and training as well. I am a LinkedIn learning instructor and a Facebook lead trainer.
Love it. Rob, over to you, mate.
I've got to try and follow that now. I was going to say as well, I see someone from Leicestershire, so my favourite coffee is from. No, it's not. I don't think I've ever had coffee in Leicestershire. I'm really happy to be along today. Obviously, it's been great being part of these social media roundups every month. I know that I'm not sure if any of you know about the CMA, but this stands for the Content Marketing Association, and we are the trade association that looks after the content marketing industry, looking to grow it both in the UK and across the world. Content Cal are massive fans and are members of ours, so we really enjoy partnering up with them. For those of you as well, we actually do our own webinar, and I'm not going to say it's better or it's just different, but I'm going to pop a link in the chat box. It's next Thursday, and it's all around SEO. So we've got 4 speakers joining us next week. It's free to attend whether you're a member of the CMA or not, and both Luann and Andy have spent time on the CMA webinar with us the last year. So please do take the time on that. I'm nothing salesy. Nothing. It'd be great for you to get in touch if you want to find anything out about the Content Marketing Association. But one thing I will say is we do have our awards running at the moment, and I know Andy's going to pop a little link there as well with information on the awards. You can enter whether you're a member or whether you're not a member, and it's got all the information, so I'm not going to bore you with that, and I'll hand you back over to Andy.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll pop in a link towards the end of the session, actually, because those awards, of which we're absolutely entering, because everyone loves to win an award. So if anyone's got some brilliant work that they're proud of, client work that they're proud of, the CMA awards are a really good thing to be in with a chance of winning. We've got a very prestigious judging panel, which involves our very own Luann.
Yep.
So so I'll pop a link to that at the end, but we'll chat about that again at the
Absolutely.
end. But right, well, let's dive into it. For anyone that's new to the format of this, we go through every single trend, news update, bit of data that's useful and relevant throughout the whole course of August. And being typically the quietest month of the year outside of December, you'd think, all right, the world of social media slowed down. But my word, has it not. Right, so much to go through, lots of data points. So once again, the way I caveat this session is because there is a lot of information coming your way over the next half an hour. Don't think that you need to take action on this straight away. It's just about giving you broader perspectives and considerations of how you might want to tweak and change your strategies if appropriate, or you might not want to. But ultimately, it gives you that broader perspective of everything that's going on, because it's a very fast-paced industry. And the idea of this session is to try and contextualize that and narrow it down into one half-an-hour session where you can get up to speed with everything that's happened. That's the idea. So as always, we're going to start with the data. So let's start here. Platform feature comparison. Our friend Matt Navarra shared this fairly recently. And there's probably three things that immediately I took away from this, but I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Luann. So lots have happened in the world of social over the last 18 months, and loads of new features. And it's quite nice to see this on one slide. So clearly, Facebook's the one that's got the full house of everything. That's no surprise, that's Facebook. The second things that are most ubiquitous, stories, as we'd expect. So interestingly, we'll be talking about TikTok stories later on. Live streaming is the next most popular. But the things that also kind of jumped out at me is shopping and the evolution of shopping. We talk about this all the time. I'm like a broken record, but there's so much going on here. And we've got some other points and some new features that are being launched to talk about. But as you can see where I'm hovering over here, you can see shopping across these platforms is coming to it as well. So very much shopping is going to be the second, or basically the second most used feature across all of these platforms, or most available feature. And I've definitely noticed a tail off in terms of the impetus for platforms to start to add in live audio. So we can see, live audio, a Clubhouse kind of style on Facebook and Twitter now. Testing on LinkedIn, it's gone quite quiet there, but there's no sign on the other platforms. So it seems like that initial momentum for me has kind of like died off a little bit. So they're my kind of three takeaways from this. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on this, Luann.
Yeah, I spotted this, and I think it's a great when you see someone actually doing the comparison work for you, when all these different features are happening across different platforms. I was quite surprised that it says no in the short form video for LinkedIn, because of course you can upload video, as you do every Monday morning, I think, Andy, with your roundup of the week. So I would probably have had that one as green. I think the interesting column, as you said, is shopping. And I did say the word last time, and we're going to see it again. Facebook have just released their kind of guide. Christmas is coming. And that's why, the platforms are all gearing up to what's happening. Kids are back to school in a couple of weeks, and then we know that that's what's going to be in the shop. So I figure that that's why the platforms are really focusing on this.
Definitely. And well, you should be banned from this call already.
Okay.
It's Christmas within the first 7 minutes, Luann. But you're absolutely right. So another big bit of data that came out, Hubspot surveyed 1,500 marketers, and they released this data last week. Channels most often used in marketing. Great. Okay. Makes perfect sense. Social media used by over 80% of marketers. Great validation for those that are doing social media for others. Then followed by website, email, and then SEO. Interestingly, SEO is quite a lot lower than I would probably think or hope it should be. Maybe they need to attend the content breakfast with the CMA. Yes. But I think the interesting thing is if you contrast that with some data that we shared last month, on the primary channels for online brand research, because Luann and I look at this data all the time, and you'll see search engines are still the primary channel for brand research. Social's getting an increasingly large share of this, but it just goes to show that potentially those channels are a little bit out of kilter. But clearly the importance of social media for everyone, we're in the right place fundamentally. But ultimately, the importance of SEO is probably missing from a few of these marketers' strategies. That's my takeaway from this. Luann, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love these slides, and then it always, makes me want to geek out and look into the data and what were the questions and who was asked and things like that. But the one that surprised me, I'm obviously happy that social media is first and really important, because that's the world we work in. But the fact that website is slightly behind social media, and this is a question that does often come up. If I'm on social media and I'm active on social media, do I still need a website? And I think it's Joe Polizzi, and there's a few others that are talking about right now about remembering, you don't own your social media account, your profile, you are building on rented land. So my argument there I would hope that website would have been the other side of social media, and that people would still have a website and be using social media to engage and to drive to it. And, that's, for me, that's an FAQ that often comes up. And I would say you do still need a website.
Very, very sensible. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Then sticking with that HubSpot survey, two other things that kind of took my attention from this rather large report, but this one did as well. Like, what social media platforms does your company use? So Instagram has taken the lead in this instance here, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. But what's more interesting, though, is when you contrast that with what social channels do you drive the ROI from? There's two very key differences. because you'll see Instagram and Facebook invert on themselves, where the majority of people drive their ROI predominantly from Facebook in this example. And we'll see LinkedIn,
Just go back, just a point on those. When I spotted it earlier, sorry, TikTok is missing.
Yes.
And I know that we've talked over past months, and there's more and more coming out from TikTok around business use and seeing it for business use. So I don't know what the time frame of that report was, but I was very surprised. Normally it's LinkedIn or something that's missing, that TikTok has, we're going to come on to the stats, is missing from that survey. So that for me kind of stood out.
Yeah, the time frame it was marketers surveyed in August, so I mean it's bang up to date, which absolutely I would.
Where is it?
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to mention is that a lot of investment in time in Twitter, but you'll see that slip down in terms of what people are seeing the ROI from, where LinkedIn jumps up a little bit. So it seems like we're a little bit out of kilter in terms of where the prioritization of channels are versus where the ROI comes from. So, and yes, very good shout on TikTok. So talking about multi-platform, multi-channel approaches, Luann, you were kind enough to build these slides, so you talk.
I had a friend help me. I can't take credit for drawing them. We show most often, especially when we get that quarterly update from the We Are Global stats around how users overlap between platforms, and we know that people use more than one platform, and it's a very nice grid with all these different percentages in. And I really wanted to kind of get this visualized to actually see what the overlap was. And for me, this is really interesting. The really small circle at the bottom is, those people that only use Instagram versus, those that use Instagram plus LinkedIn, plus Twitter, plus Facebook, and the whole universe. So we can see, and we've got them up for the different platforms, this real overlap. And actually, the biggest overlap on Instagram is Facebook, but people are using more than one platform, and that's really important. There's your LinkedIn one. So after LinkedIn comes Twitter, quite significantly. The order there is Twitter, then Instagram, then Facebook. What else have we got? We got Twitter. So yeah, Twitter, slightly bigger people, small circle there in terms of people who only use Twitter. But after that comes LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So it really is a different order as well. So we have to remember that our users aren't just on one platform. They are on multiple platforms, and how we work around that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So organic engagement performance. So sorry for the negative slide on this one, but we need to paint a full picture. So this was across 200,000 accounts from this source, tracking data over the last year. Organic engagement performance, Facebook versus Instagram, but looking at it in general. So we can see the amount of engagement per post slipping, but the gap between Instagram and Facebook is getting a little bit bigger, which is replicated by or represented by this, where we're seeing Instagram interactions 6.4 times higher than on Facebook. But fundamentally, both of these are trending downwards for reasons of increased competition. There's a lot more ads inventory happening at the moment because there's been a big boom on ads. Also, there are, as we've been speaking about lots over the last year or so, there's been a 13% year-on-year growth of social, which is 500 million new people joined social channels. So more content, more competition. And of course, probably the biggest factor across all of that is all of the changes that are happening on these platforms. So for example, like the feed is going to become less important over time for Instagram, for example, as Reels starts to become the primary source. So, I mean, downward engagement trends from feed orientated, because this is all talking about feed, it's fair to say, and organic, that I wouldn't be surprised to see that continuing to trend downwards. That's my takeaway from this, Luann, but it feels slightly negative. So I don't know if there's if you can spin on that one.
I think what's important here is obviously whenever we share these stats that they are a benchmark, they're very broad, they're from a very large audience. I think what's important is that we do identify trends that are happening, but we look at this for our own data, and you look at it for your own data to say, is your engagement dropping as well? And actually, sometimes if we need to report that back to our peers, to our colleagues, we can put it within context. And that's something that's always useful. I know I do quite a big quarterly review for one of my clients, and it's not just about saying, this is what's happened to your data. We put it into the context of, and this is what's happened to your competitors, and this is what's happening in the industry. So as Andy said earlier on, we're giving you the tools to help you put your plans together, to justify your plans and give you some guidance. Look at the trends, but always look at your own data.
See, you can put a positive spin on anything. Love that.
Even in the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it might be another challenge for you. So Facebook's paid reach is decreasing, and that is as a result of increased competition. Fundamentally, I think what we're seeing here, and we'll see some other data that isn't going up like we're usually showing you like upward trending data. What we're seeing here is a bit of a normalization of some real kind of boom statistics that we've seen of incredible advertising reach, incredible growth. Naturally, we're going to see that normalize a bit. It is my takeaway. But like Luann says, if you're seeing some of these things across your own accounts or your clients' accounts, then you can feel that you're not alone ultimately in this one. It's being felt out there.
Yeah, and the answer is test. With a client at the moment, we've got a testing program where we're trying out new audiences and comparing one with another. And what's really surprising me is that one new audience with mapped to completely new interests is way outperforming a lookalike audience of our current fans. By kind of 94p to like £7 something. So
wow.
Again, this is overall, but you've got to test, consider, measure, repeat, and have a look. Everything else is equal. It's the same time frame, it's the same budget, it's the same creative. We're just testing the audience, and that's a massive difference just across a 2-month test period. So you've got to test this stuff.
100% agree with that. So some organic benchmarks. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because we could get lost in data here. But one thing you should take away from this website called flick.tech. I only found it on Monday of this week. And basically, it's like the Instagram open data project. So if Instagram is your thing, you should go there. Basically, 40,000 different account owners have uploaded all of their monthly benchmarks over the last year. So what this has meant is that we've got incredible benchmarks across a very broad range. These are global accounts, but it's segmented per account size. So you can look at account performance based on whether it has 1 to 5,000 followers, 10 to 20,000 followers, and that kind of thing. So you can really look at things that are very, very appropriate for you. Of course, only if Instagram is your thing. It's only supporting Instagram right now. But I wanted to share it with everyone because I was like, whoa, that's really cool. I just love that whole kind of collaborative, people coming together, sharing data for the good of the whole. Such a brilliant idea. And then some kind of key statistics of follower growth rate here. Some other things I want to call out. As has been reflected in the other data, reach rate. So the amount of your total audience that you're reaching. So if you had an audience of 1,000 followers, you're typically reaching 410 of them based on this reach rate. We're seeing a bit of a decline in that and reach per post. So we are seeing that, and this is data across 1 to 5,000 account sizes. So if you're beating that, you should feel pretty good about yourselves. But interestingly, Instagram TV paints a very different picture in terms of reach, up 30% in the last 3 months. So I just wanted to call that one out because there's a whole load of benchmarks you should go in and check out if you're interested. But Instagram TV certainly seems to be bucking some of the downward trends that we've seen on other things. Might be worthwhile investigating. But talking about some of the things that are on the up, we're talking about that without TikTok. Top things is ranked by TikTok user growth. And I appreciate we've got a global audience here on this call, but it's very rare to see United Kingdom towards the top of any sort of chart. So 36% growth there. But as you can see, these are all the other countries. So if any of your markets here, you can see where there's a huge growth of TikTok. Talking about that growth of TikTok, though, nothing quite describes it quite like this chart, which is overall app downloads through Sensor Tower. I put the source in the bottom left.
Yeah.
But as you can see, like TikTok's downloads, they've doubled the next highest performing app, Instagram, and they've continued to double it. As you can see, right in the beginning of 2020, it went crazy. Yes, it's normalized a bit, but it absolutely is still continuing to double. So for me, the data is getting too compelling not to do TikTok. As a result, we're currently building our own TikTok strategy because unfortunately, as much as I like to say, oh, we're not going to just jump in because of the new platform, the data has now got too compelling for me to ignore it. That's my own personal view on it.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm not sharing on TikTok, but I'm definitely watching for the industries that my clients are in, looking at the kind of content that's being created, looking at the stats that are coming through. We can't ignore it. We absolutely can't ignore it.
So that's the data bit done.
Yay!
The new features.
Lots of new features. As Andy said, we expect August to be quiet, but it certainly hasn't been this month. And this is no surprise, is it really? Facebook, I think it's just in the States at the moment. I think it was only shared literally a few days ago, but Reels is coming to Facebook. They have been prioritizing it. There's been real focus of it on Instagram. So really is no surprise that it is coming onto our Facebook pages. Interested to see how that comes across, how people engage with it, but no surprises there. It's becoming a metaverse. This is what Zuckerberg talked about in his town hall. I think it was about probably 4 or 5 weeks ago now, that this is where he sees his world and what he's doing going forward. He also talked about how video now accounts for 50% of the time spent on Facebook. Reels is that strongest contributor of engagement growth. That's what they're taking from TikTok. That's what's happening on the platforms as well. So I think it's about the content, isn't it? But the content is what's driving the growth of those platforms too.
Absolutely right. So don't suppose you fancy describing what a metaverse is, Luann?
I don't, because every article I read is something different and it's about his world. So I think we could just say it's Zuckerberg's head.
Yeah, it's
what's going on in his head.
Feels like some weird dystopian future, but
Yes.
I have a feeling it's actually not that far away, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, an interesting one to watch and maybe read up about, that's for sure.
Yeah. And Facebook have been launching lots of tools. If you actually go through their updates, sometimes we look back on what's been updated over recent months, and they are continually launching new hubs, new tools, new ways to help small businesses. And this is a great one, a campaign ideas generator. Particularly, I'm going to say the C word again, Christmas is coming up. Your holiday campaign ideas, you can go onto this tool and kind of play around with it and get some inspiration. Facebook itself is great for sharing case studies and stories. So do have a look around and see what people are doing. Instagram, changes to Instagram. This is the big one. There's always something after we do the slide deck, and then it's like, oh, we need to just add one more in. And this is the news this week that swipe up links will be no more. I think this is disappearing on the 30th of August. It is being replaced with stickers. So same functionality, slightly different, still only applicable to 10,000 plus followers.
But I think they're laying the foundation though, because the product manager is still quite keen that this gets available to all. Apparently they're using this as an opportunity to make sure that the links that people are directing others to are safe, are valuable, etc. Before they roll this out to everyone. But it's certainly a good move in the right direction, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, big fan of stickers. This is one we've talked about. Reels, we've talked about data, increasing the stats now for Reels. Reels have been increased. They can now last 60 seconds. So I'm looking forward to seeing people be able to do a bit more of a dance than they were before. Because I think people only learned a few seconds of it. So I'm looking forward to longer Reels coming on.
Just as a point of reference as well, because this is the same trajectory that TikTok followed. And now TikTok incidentally are up at 3 minutes. But it was only when TikTok went to 60 seconds did they see explosive growth of content being created. So you have to be super creative to do something good in 15 seconds. So 60 seconds does give us mere mortals a chance to do something a little bit more. So I like that.
Yeah. Audio is that feature we've talked about a lot this year, the rise of audio, and all the platforms, if we remember that color grid, I think are incorporating audio to some extent. Instagram have launched an audio tab for Reels. Not surprising. Small changes all the time. And that shopping word as well, another update in the last few days. Sponsored listings are coming to the shop tab. So this is Instagram adding more functionality for people with online shops, e-commerce, making it easier to buy, easier to sell and click through. So I think we've got more functionality coming in this area as well over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that shop tab was only came out like 6 to 8 months ago. So it's a big shift.
Big change.
So I think they're, as you already said, they're definitely lining this stuff up at the right time going into holiday season. That's for sure.
Yeah. And this is something that we often talk about, but how do the social media platforms work? How does discovery, what do we see? How is it prioritized? Well, sometimes they do actually tell us. And Instagram have revealed how Reels content works. It is showing you what you're more likely to engage with, because based on what you've watched before, whether you've liked it, how you've enjoyed it, and that you will be going to an audio page to make your own reel as well. So they're encouraging more people to not just consume, but to get involved with this as well.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of interesting things to take from this. That's quite different to how typical algorithms will have worked, and those signals as to whether, you know, your content's going to be shown to more people. Watching a reel all the way through is an interesting one. That kind of orientates us more to think about shorter form content. Obviously, liking it, we all know that as a signal. But to say it's entertaining or funny is a really interesting one. That is totally new. Because if you remember from last month, we were talking about how Instagram don't see themselves as a photo sharing app. They see themselves as a video first entertainment app, which is, that's a big departure. So they're being able to track whether people are reacting with, you know, laughing like this crying emoji, basically doing things that make Instagram understand that, oh, that was entertaining or funny, we're going to show it to more people. And of course, like Luann just spoke about the audio page, I mean, that is going to be huge for reels, because I mean, that's what's driven TikTok's growth. So how likely you are to go ahead and go into those trending audio tracks, recreate something yourself, and kind of create those kind of duets, if you will, off the back of it. So you can kind of, you know, build on an existing reel. It's very different actually in terms of how typical, quite basic algorithmic stuff had worked, which just have you liked and commented on it. It's a lot more wide reaching than that.
Yeah. And if we can read this one, the most important signals in order of importance are your activity. What is it you're looking at? What you're liking, commenting, engaging with? Your history of interacting with the person who posted. You know, are you loyal to the people that you're watching the reels? What do we know about that reel? Is it the audio track? Is it the video? Is it the frame? You know, what's making it popular? And information about you know, the people that are posting and how people interact with them as well. So it's really good that they're sharing this. Avoiding what we need to avoid. We also need to avoid, you know, low res images, low res video quality, watermarks. We know that they don't really want you to be copying your TikToks over onto reels. They want original content. Political issues, that's not just about reels. They're trying to focus on removing misinformation and political topics throughout the platform. And also, I haven't seen any, but reels that are made by political figures, parties or government officials or on their behalf, they're downgrading as well. Twitter. What's been happening on Twitter? Well, not surprisingly, they're still working on audio, and they're working on spaces and how you can interact and share with people. So past few weeks, they're rolling out their new sharing options for spaces. That's one to watch. Co-hosting features. I think this is a really nice one. This is kind of moving towards how Clubhouse was working from the very beginning, co-hosting. Maybe we could co-host this on a space at some point. I think that's, you know, a really good way of audio. People do love the interaction of more than one person on a session.
And of course, you get the double whammy of promo as well to both people's feeds and audiences as well. So love the collaborative content opportunity, as you know.
Yeah, like where they're going with that. And of course, they are integrating and focusing on shopping as well, with a new shopping module, increasing that, supporting that as well. So I think we'll probably see some more advertising options coming up for Twitter if they've got this focus on shopping going forward as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a really good point, actually.
LinkedIn have made some changes. They don't always, they tend to come in batches all along at once, but some really good stuff has come out in the past few weeks, actually. They have acquired Jumprope, which is a how-to video app. And this is all about, as other platforms are doing, them increasing their creator tools, making it good for people to focus on creating content for the platform, which is why I think LinkedIn should have been had video on that matrix and that colored box. But of course, this also relates into their growth of LinkedIn Learning, which is all online video content as well. So I'm interested to see how they're going to integrate that one going forward.
It's nice kind of coming back down to earth after thinking about having to make funny or entertaining reels. Then you're thinking nice how-to videos on LinkedIn. That's much more in my comfort zone. But yeah.
Don't need to be on the screen for a how-to either, do you? This I love, and if you're on LinkedIn and you haven't done this yet, this is on my to-do list for the next few days. I must do this. Is you can add reviews to your own personal profile. So this isn't recommendations, this isn't skill endorsements. This is if you have services on your profile, quite hard to read here, but we can share the link. Do go out and ask your clients, ask your colleagues, ask your peers to give you more detailed reviews on your LinkedIn profile. I think there's a limit to the number. You're hovering over it, Andy. It's a bit fuzzy to see, but this is something that I would highly recommend people are doing.
Yeah, 20. Sorry, I was blocking.
Yeah.
So yeah, 20 reviews you can have.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for hundreds of views. For me, recommendations on LinkedIn are not about having 100 people saying, yes, she's great, or this is wonderful. Go for quality, get people to write your testimonial, tell a story. So actually, I'm glad that there is a bit of a limit, so it becomes valuable, not just a one-liner.
Totally agree. Love it.
These I would also highly recommend. I have done these courses. I was part of the beta testing for these new LinkedIn courses around ads and lead generation. They are free to take. You can then do a certificate. You can get a little badge for doing. They are great. Really useful, step by step, how to go through and use LinkedIn advertising for brand awareness and for lead gen. They don't take very long. You could probably do it in an hour and a half as well.
Yeah, love it. Free education. Definitely support that. Awesome.
Over to you. I'm going to take a breath.
Yeah, thank you.
You do TikTok.
Yeah. Stories in a weird kind of twist of the plot. TikTok has decided to copy Instagram. There's a really interesting division between the two platforms, and they both kind of want to do what each others are doing, which is fascinating. Where TikTok has nailed discovery from people that you've never met before, but it's more about the content rather than the people. Whereas Instagram is actually more about, I would say, the people more than the content. It certainly initially was, where you can build communities, make closer connections. And that's where stories has played in really nicely for Instagram. You follow those certain people, you want to get to know them at a personal level. And it's that kind of more community building element that TikTok wants to have as part of the platform as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see, whether firstly Reels can take on TikTok, and whether, stories on TikTok will take over stories on Instagram. It's going to be fascinating. I think people will use it for two different reasons. So I'm not too sure whether the consumption of stories on TikTok will be a massive deal, but I'll wait to be proven wrong on that one. But what will be very important for TikTok, and we talk about this all the time, but it's evolving at a pace now, the new shop tab on TikTok. So as you can see, the integration with Shopify is really, really smart. It feels like a native shopping experience, even though it isn't. So TikTok still haven't launched like a full-on TikTok shop like Facebook have or Instagram have, for example. But now, if you currently use Shopify or don't at the moment, you can go ahead and embed your product catalog directly within your profile here, and people can go ahead and make purchases here. Embeds and looks, as you can see, like a really native experience. However, the journey for a customer isn't as seamless as it could be in an ideal world. So people will be taken to your website to make the purchase rather than staying on TikTok, which is the ultimate goal. But e-commerce and TikTok are like a match made in heaven. It's going to be a huge driver of growth for the platform. And I would put my money on TikTok overtaking Amazon in the fullness of time as an e-commerce platform. So that will take some time to play out, but it's going to be fascinating to see that grow. Something else that leads into the e-commerce story is about live streaming. We've spoken about the growth of live streaming, and live shopping in particular is such a significant part of the Chinese economy now. And as we always have known from like technological trends, they always start east and flow west. So you can see this coming, but already in preparation for this kind of live stream e-commerce stuff, they're putting live moderation tools, which is fantastic straight off the bat, like putting in keyword filters to make sure any defamatory language is banned, and make sure that the kind of engagement you're getting is healthy and encourages a nice positive atmosphere. Talking about the e-commerce piece, this is data from TikTok, so take this with a spoonful of salt. So ultimately, this is TikTok influencing the fact that people are coming to the platform with the mindset that they're ready to buy. And that is, that really backs up the things that we've just been talking about. But TikTok want more small businesses because, like I said, they really want to turn this thing into an e-commerce giant. And as you can see on the left-hand side, and this is all from TikTok press material. So, it's a bit marketing puffy, if you will, but like small business, however, 35 billion views of that hashtag in the last year. So clearly it's a thing. And TikTok have given kind of 4 steps as to how you can, as a small business, get started with TikTok. Filling out details of your business account, the creator marketplace, which is a really good place to start, actually working with others that already have a presence on the platform to start getting your brand name spoken about, even if you're uncomfortable to create your own content. So I think that's an area that a lot of people forget, that you don't have to go into a platform by creating stuff yourself. You can go in through partnership route as well. The Small Business Resource Center is brilliant for anyone to that's in the small business capacity to look at. They've done a huge amount in terms of like resource guides, that kind of stuff. And we've already spoken about the Shopify thing. And then one of the biggest barriers to TikTok and people doing TikTok is there's 2 things. One about the kind of creative concepts, but the other thing is about actually creating the video that needs to be done. Because some of the people's like in 60 seconds, some people have obviously spent like 4 hours editing a video because it looks so damn good. So TikTok are acutely aware of that and have started some partnerships with Vimeo, which is a brilliant video editing tool with some specific tailor-made features for TikTok videos, and Canva as well. We all know and love Canva, always gets a lot of love here in our webinars. So Canva created some really nice templates that you can just kind of run with in the same Canva style. If anyone's used Canva, you'll be familiar with it. But that partnership is really going to start to lower the barriers of entry for creating TikTok content. So go ahead and check that one out. Pinterest, just a couple of things to share here. Their idea pins that we spoke about last month, which were kind of renamed story pins. We can now tag products on them. That makes perfect sense because they're used for product inspiration, and you can link those products directly through to your shop. Because obviously Pinterest, fantastic place for discovery of new products, as we always talk about. And plays into the e-commerce narrative really well. However, the downside of this is that Pinterest's growth is kind of normalizing again, which you kind of notice as a bit of a theme throughout the course of this monthly session. We were talking about Pinterest being one of the biggest gainers throughout the pandemic. But now it looks like as the world goes back some semblance of normality, they're starting to lose some of those monthly active users. YouTube, 2 things. Automated captions. They launched this last year or earlier this year. Time obviously has no meaning, so I can't remember. But now they've made it even more important for SEO, because those automated captions on a longer form video will now start to appear on that video description, as you can see in this highlighted screenshot. That means important things for SEO, because now YouTube know that people will come to YouTube particularly to find out how to do something. But of course, the bit you actually want to know is usually nested somewhere within that 5-10 minute video. So chapters help you get the content that you need in the shortest time possible. But of course, it's on us, even though YouTube kind of automates the creation of those chapters, it's on us to make sure that we name them correctly so that people can find them. And of course, that gives fantastic SEO value. So as anyone has heard me speak before, I'm a big fan of YouTube and its impact on both social performance and SEO performance. And then sticking with YouTube, that's putting your money where your mouth is, that's for sure. Create a nice post, you get $10,000. So sounds good to me, doesn't it, Luann?
It does, but my 14-year-old stepson will probably beat me to it.
Yeah, exactly. So Shorts, as we know, had released last month. Their short, it is YouTube's take on TikTok. It's a war for creators right now, and just in the same way that it's a war between Amazon, Netflix, Universal to sign the best talent to be exclusive to their platforms. It is exactly the same situation that's playing out across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They're trying to get the best creators and the best talent to bring the audience with it.
Yeah,
that's why YouTube are putting so much money behind it. And this is why, because they're putting that much money behind it, that's the reason that it's definitely one to watch, because that will bring creators with it. Creators have a gravitational pull of an audience. So, it's really significant. Snapchat, just one thing, but even if you don't use Snapchat, you should use this. This is a new free resource they launched called Snapchat Trends. You'll find it on trends.snapchat.com. exactly the same principle as trends.pinterest.com, but it allows you to establish like emerging trends, what's hot right now, the things across certain demographics and certain locations that are working really well. You can also keyword search it. So whenever you're doing your keyword research, that is easy to do across like Google and YouTube to look at search volume and intent. You can now augment that with looking across Pinterest and Snapchat to see, you know, across those platforms, what is the popularity of that particular thing or category, and fantastic way of like really empowering audience research. So yeah, I loved that one. Clubhouse, to be honest, the feature's so minor. I was kind of didn't want to include it, kind of boring, because ultimately you can just have a few more levels of permission with the people that are running the rooms. The active rooms have doubled in size, but all of that growth is coming from India at the moment. So I'm not sure what to make of the growth of that. So I'm still not particularly buoyant about it, but we usually get lots of comments about like people that are really loving the experience of it and it's still working well. So yeah, I'm not going to be one to write it off, but in terms of, you know, comparing it to the top 8 platforms, I can't see it ever having that distribution, that power of those top 8 platforms that we were looking at in that grid earlier. And with that,
you did it.
You did it. Well, you did it. Yeah. We all did it. Everyone on the call did it. So as a bit of a kind of summary, as a takeaway, so social performance metrics are shifting. They're normalizing a little bit, but strategies don't seem to be following suit. We saw quite a big disconnect between the channels that people are marketing on, so predominantly social, and which particular social channels don't seem to align with where people are getting the ROI from and where the potential growth is coming from. So that's quite interesting. So we're certainly seeing some of the pace of social is outpacing the marketing strategies that are there to try and appeal. So that's an interesting takeaway. TikTok's growth continues despite the slight correction. It's, you know, even though even TikTok's growth has declined a little bit in terms of overall numbers, it still is outpacing everyone by double. So it's definitely, as we said earlier, a platform we can't ignore any longer. Expect to see continual downtrends of IG feed performance in the wake of Reels. It's clear from everyone, you know, the fact that Reels is getting embedded into Facebook, all of this stuff about the algorithm, all of the payments to creators. Reels is going to be the focus for Instagram. They said it themselves, it's going to be a video first entertainment app. So we need to be thinking about, like, we don't need to make changes tomorrow, but we just need to be thinking about the future of our Instagram strategy. If that's our thing, you know, expect to see us needing to make some tweaks to that in the fullness of time. And just one other kind of side thought, more food for thought, and I've linked to it here. If you're particularly nerdy and want to think about like what the future of social looks like, and reading about metaverses and all that stuff, what social 2.0 is going to look like. But one thing just to think about is that this creator effect, as I call it, is that what we're going to see is more fragmentation of these platforms as well. We'll still see like these top 8 will continue, but we're going to see more fragmentation of creators realizing that they want to own their audience a bit more, to Luann's point earlier. So that's why we're seeing things like Substack and Patreon, those little communities starting to build, which is going to fragment social, because creators will want to bring a community with them and own that a little bit more. So that's going to change the game a little bit. And networks are getting more specialized. We're seeing more and more social channels, although much smaller ones, social networks around specific verticalization, like around food, travel, that kind of thing. And of course, this is all going to get driven by monetization. We've spoken about it before, where like the days of like building a fan base or building followers, of chucking content to a feed and then having that augmented by ads, that is kind of social 1.0, but we're seeing that shift. We're seeing that shift through tipping, through people paying for exclusive access, through, you know, the Twitter subscription platform, through to Substack and Patreon, because creators are going to want to make their own businesses off the back of this, and that's what's going to have the gravitational pull of the audience with them. So that is not something we need to do right now or need to think right now, but the world of social is absolutely shifting. It's going to be very interesting to watch this evolve over the upcoming year and such. But any takeaways from you, Luann, and yourself as well, Rob?
Yeah, I think for me, we're never going to run out of things to talk about on these monthly webinars. You know, we just won't. There's always so many changes, and I think your point, Andy, about, you know, strategies, are they changing? Are they not changing? we have had to be so reactive over the last 18 months to what's been happening in the world around us that I know to a certain extent for many organizations, their planning processes kind of got put in a drawer or put to one side, or they're still in the office and they've been working from home. Everything has been reactive to what's been happening, but actually we do need to get back to that planned, bigger picture, long-term approach as well. While we've kind of been firefighting and surviving, we need to get back to kind of growth and thriving going forward.
Agree with
but there's
that.
some great questions. I can see you've been marking them, Rob, so I haven't been looking because it's great to have you looking at the questions and asking us, but there's some great questions.
I've learned how to mark them instead of just going through them all at the end. I will pop through some of these, but not really interesting talk there, and I think it's some really good points. But I think it'll be really interesting over the sort of next 6 to 12 months with YouTube Shorts and with Reels continuing the kind of, as we said before, TikTok's kind of disadvantage that it's only TikTok, isn't it? Whereas Instagram's got so much alongside it as well, and so is YouTube. Some of these questions were from earlier on in the talk, so I'll see if I can try and link them to what they were talking about. Elizabeth asked, I wonder whether brands are using social more now for brand awareness, hence why Instagram is so popular, not necessarily really pushing sales, so they're getting benefit but not able to see a direct ROI.
I think, if we go back to marketing basics and our funnel, we always start with awareness at the top and drive through. Social media is relevant at every stage of the funnel, which I think is what's so wonderful about it. It is amazing for awareness, but we shouldn't forget that all these shopping features that are coming through are the ones that are going to, help convert and sell as well. So we've got the whole pipeline coming through, but of course, awareness. And each platform is different for different industries and products and services, is my take on it. Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, social is incredibly powerful, top of the funnel. But I would also say, ROI isn't just a financially driven metric of conversions. ROI is seeing a 20% increase in your reach or your impressions, right? Your overall top of funnel. So, so there's, data could always be interpreted so many different ways. But for me, brand awareness is a massive win. We track that. We have a target to grow 20% month on month. So for me, if we hit it, that's a return on investment. The investment isn't necessarily money; it's an investment in time. So I think it's very important. It's a really good flag to raise. But fundamentally, if you're getting more reach on the platform, which you are currently on Instagram, then it makes sense to apply that to your brand awareness strategy for sure.
Romy has asked a question. There's a follow-up on that as well. Have you heard about Instagram's new feature that allows 2 accounts to post together? For example, Andy and Rob, instead of both accounts having to post separately. I read it's being tested at the moment, and then someone has put said an account, Louise Pentland on Instagram, says that if you click the second photo, you can see it in action. So I have seen it, and it does say, one person and another person, so they've joined to post that. So have you heard anything about that, or how you think it'll be rolled out?
I have not.
Do you know what, Andy? I'm sure we spoke about it in June. I'm sure there was a token of it, because I remember you and I talking about it before, but only because of the thought of me and you doing a post together.
But that was in the context of doing a Insta live, so we could do a live together, right? Because that was a new feature, and also you could, from a sponsored post perspective, you could do that together, so you could collaborate together. But if we're talking about just a feed post, just a single post to say, this post is coming from both Rob and Andy in this instance, that is a new one on me. So because I thought collaboration, because Gemma, you mentioned it's a new cloud feature. I thought
it's for feeds. Feed. I don't think it's for story. I think it's just for feeds, that is. But so that's that might be in that might be in the next one. The next question: when would you recommend people give reviews versus recommendations on LinkedIn? For example, what is the key difference? What's your advice when it comes to getting people to leave a review? As there are so many places you should get people to leave a review: Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, your own website, etc.
I'll take this because I had the chance to read this, Andy, while you were still talking, and it's a brilliant question. With this new reviews feature, my answer is I don't know yet what that means. It's new. I haven't been asked for a review. I haven't seen people having reviews, it looks to me like they're in a different place. It looks to me like, you know, your main profile would have the recommendations on it halfway down, and you have to go through somewhere else to get the reviews. So it's a bit more company page services like. So my answer would be we need to test it. I wouldn't ditch recommendations over reviews. I would try reviews out. Maybe you just have to see and decide that some are recommendations about perhaps you as a person and what you like to work with, whereas some are about specific services, whether you have packages or products that you offer. You know, try it and test it and have a look would be my answer. The other question about where to have your reviews left and what to do, I had a chance to think about this. My answer would be focus on the one that is the most important platform for you. So for me, in my day-to-day consultancy, I would probably focus on LinkedIn and getting recommendations and reviews on there. For my e-commerce business, I would focus on Facebook and Google, because that's how people first come across the business and where they interact a lot more. What you should remember is that wherever someone does leave a review, is that you can take that, turn it into a graphic, repurpose it, use it as content. So you know, use them everywhere, but maybe have a primary focus on the platform that is your primary focus, that drives traffic, that drives your business.
You were talking about the videos, and I think it was on Reels at this time. And Laura's asked, what if you upload videos that have already have subtitles on them?
That's a great question. I think fundamentally what they're detecting for, I wouldn't say that's a massive issue. What they're detecting for is low resolution, so providing it's high quality, because usually it's low resolution and it's watermarked because you've ripped it off from creating from TikTok. Really, that's the only behavior they want to stop. Is they don't want to be an extra distribution channel for TikToks. They want to be the place where you create it. So yeah, I don't personally see that as an issue, but as Luann always says, test. Just
try it, see what happens. They talk about these features, but no one ever goes into the details. You've always got to just trial and error, and that's why people share so much. Any more, Rob? Or have we got off quite lightly today? Or has he frozen? He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. He's disappeared.
He's disappeared. He's had enough.
So, all right.
I didn't see any other questions in there. Oh no, someone did say any Android Clubhouse equivalent in the pipeline. It is open to Android users now. I think it was about 2 months ago. So maybe the novelty had worn off, but it is open to Android users now. So we're not looking for an equivalent on there.
Yeah,
he's back. We took over from.
I think I got kicked out. I was about to ask as well. What are you? Are you on the Reels or the TikTok? Which side of the fence are you on? In terms of what you use now, not what you think is best for people to use in terms of their marketing efforts.
I'm watching both because I think they're different audiences on the different platforms. I look at the stats. I can see that for one client in one sector that there is a significant growth in their activity on TikTok. So personally, I'm lurking on both. I haven't created a reel or a TikTok myself yet, and that's not in my plans.
What about you, Andy? Maybe we should all do one for the next monthly roundup. We should create a nice little TikTok or reel.
Yeah, well, our strategy is being built for TikTok at the moment, so we're going to prioritize that over Reels for now, just so that it gives us our Instagram strategy space to breathe. We'll learn some stuff from the TikTok experiment, and I'll report back.
Yeah.
Well, I do have. There's two questions if you want to answer them really quickly, because I know how we're doing for time. The first, I'll give them to you both, so maybe you can attach them both. Any Android Clubhouse equivalent in the pipeline? What is Clubhouse? So you all ask, and we all forgot what that is. And then, why is the Facebook organic engagements and reach declining?
We did the Clubhouse one. Why? If we knew the why, then we'd be rich. I think. If anyone knew the why, is it declining?
Organic reach it's a natural thing. It will always decline over time. It's one thing that's as certain as death and taxes. Organic reach will decline over time because fundamentally more people come on a platform and platforms want to monetize. That is the sad reality of the truth. When we want free reach, because we're essentially using these platforms for free, we've got to play by their rules. So which means they're going to squeeze us. And then when they squeeze us too much and we get fed up with it, we find a new platform. That is pretty much the stark, sad reality of the situation. And that's why,
you've got to keep it fresh. You've got to keep your content fresh, not just find something, think it works, and just repeat. You've got to keep on going constantly.
Indeed. But we can give ourselves some time to celebrate, and the best way of celebrating is by winning an award.
Yes.
Yes. I was going to say, if anyone has got some fresh content that they want to enter into the awards, it can be from June 2020 up until September 2021. So if you've got any award-worthy work or know someone that does, then as Andy's put the link up there. And I would love to see you at the next breakfast as well next week. I'm really looking forward to the next update as well. Both Andy and Luann, really looking forward to it.
No worries at all. Quick little plug as well. You might have seen me post on social. We're looking for a social media manager to own our social accounts at Content Cal, because we take it very seriously, which you'd probably hope, considering we talk about it all the time. So if anyone fancies being the Content Cal social media manager and taking control of our social, then there is a job vacancy open to anyone across the world. So if anyone wants to get in touch with that, feel free to do so. But otherwise, thank you. Oh, Luann, do you have any kind of takeaway?
I was just going to say, should we do it again next month? I think have you got the link ready? We've set the date.
Yeah,
it's going to pop that in.
I can't wait to see Andy's. I can't wait to see Andy's LinkedIn DMs light up after putting that saying there's going to be a social media manager position going.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Well, talk amongst yourselves for a second. Let me just find the link.
The next update is we try to stick to the last Thursday of the month. So the next monthly update is the 30th of September. We're going to go for 4 p.m. again. Andy's going to put the link so you can register now. Some people are asking right at the beginning. Yes, a recording is always sent out if you've registered. So if you have watched today, thank you for joining in from all over the world. If you're watching the recording, then hope you can join us live at some point.
Well, that link is just
there. We go. There we go. Get yourself registered and organised for next month. I can see people already clicking on it. So thank you, Andy. Thank you, Rob. Bank holiday weekend. Enjoy.
Yeah, indeed. Everyone have a great rest of the week. Take it easy.
Awesome. Thanks all. Speak soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.